Beekeeper is directed by David Ayer and stars Jason Statham along with Josh Hutcherson and Jeremy Irons. The film follows Statham as a beekeeper set to avenge a pensioner who has been wrongfully scammed whilst being hunted down by the FBI. Before I even get into this movie, I have a funny story that goes along with my viewing experience. Everything was fine and the cinema was practically empty. And then all of a sudden, during what felt like the last 5 minutes of the movie, the picture shut off and only the audio remained. This is absolutely baffling and pretty funny, but I'm obviously not going to let that hinder my experience of the film, as I've been told since viewing it the very few fleeting moments that I had missed. Now let's talk about the actual movie. I went into this thinking I was going to absolutely hate this movie, and while I wouldn't say I love it by any means, it wasn't completely terrible. Definitely better than Ayer's Suicide Squad, that's for sure. The plot of this movie is nothing original. In fact, it follows many familiar story beats of John Wick. A man who is skilled at killing people begins to kill after someone close to them is killed. Josh Hutcherson plays the entitled son of a powerful man who knows of the killer's powers, but the son is oblivious to. It's a lot of the same cut and paste format that we had seen before, and despite it being incredibly derivative, I wouldn't say this makes for a terrible watch. The acting in this movie was fine. Jason Statham is like a one-liner spewing machine. I swear it's like 90% of his dialogue in this movie. I enjoyed Josh Hutcherson in this film a lot. He really played into this entitled angle, and he clearly is having a lot of fun in this role. I'm glad to hear that because of this, the guy is interested in doing more villain roles because of this film. Jeremy Irons is pretty good. While he is kind of underutilized and isn't really given much to do, he still does what he can with the material, and he plays into it almost too seriously to where it's laughable, but I think it works for the type of movie that this is. I was surprised to see how stylish this movie is. There's an immense use of the color yellow, which definitely is playing into the whole bee angle that the movie pushes so heavily. It was a treat on the eyes sometimes, and while it's nowhere near a visual spectacle, I was surprised that there was actual effort put into a lot of shots in the movie. However, despite this, there are also a lot of shots that are pretty bad. There's some pretty bad looking zooms here and there. Some of the fight scenes aren't edited great, and it doesn't really give them time to breathe, but there are a few occasions where the fighting choreography works, and you can feel the brutality of some of the kills in this thing. While the film is nowhere near grounded in reality, I do think it's a little jarring when some characters come into this thing. The best way I can describe them is that two of these characters look like Suicide Squad rejects. They have really goofy outfits, and it makes me wonder what the point of making them so stylized like this, especially when they aren't in the film for that long. Along with certain things that make the movie kind of stupid is that we never get an explanation as to why Jason Statham's character is so skilled. They give an excuse saying that maybe he was an ex-Marine, but this is never confirmed as a definitive answer. All we know is that the Beekeeper seems to be some sort of agency, maybe with highly skilled assassins, but it never really delves into it. Maybe some people can dig the ambiguity of its mystery, but I would have preferred if it went into more depth. There are many moments in the film where it really slogs during the middle section, especially when the action scenes are spaced out. In hindsight, this makes them worth the wait when they come. You don't want to film with solely mindless violence, but sometimes there are sections that can feel like a bore. The writing in this movie isn't anything amazing. As I said, a lot of the dialogue is as simple as a lot of one-liners, but it's endearing in a way. Like, I feel like this could have been an action movie that came out in the 80s or 90s. I could easily see Stallone and Arnie delivering some of Statham's lines. Overall, this isn't a great movie, but there are some fun scenes here and there. It can be a good time, and it's especially laughable, but I'm unable to determine whether I'm ever laughing at the movie or with the movie. I'm giving The Beekeeper 3 stars. While it is an unapologetic copy of John Wick, there are few elements that make it enjoyable if you're willing to turn your brain off for a serviceable runtime. There's no real substance, and it's just really dumb fun. Like, really dumb fun.